Hello, welcome to episode 6. This is part 5 of this conversation around cost. And there is always going to be a cost in upgrading your life and business. And that might not be a financial cost. It may be a way of being. It may be getting up earlier. It might be focus. It might be becoming the next level version of yourself. It might be disappointing people. It might be losing some friends along the way. Like, all of these things can happen. But I want to reiterate, as always, that I am here for your big dreams. And I'm not saying that we have to become selfish monsters overnight. I mean, far from it. But I do want to fully acknowledge that maybe who you were in your 20s is no longer who you are and who you want to be right now at the age you are. And maybe it's time to make some different decisions, some greater decisions, and to really go into that next level of you. So number one, when we think about cost, I want you to think about what your future self needs and how they are operating, and bring some of those sprinkles into the now. I think that sometimes there is this notion, especially in self-development worlds, that one day we just wake up and we are our future selves. And sometimes there are those moments where suddenly the doors open. You know, I often think about those moments with bands, pop bands, for example, that they go from being able to live a normal life and then suddenly they're on a TV show and their life changes forever. Or they're on Top of the Pops and then suddenly everybody is screaming their names down the street and wants to go through their bins. You know, sometimes there is that moment. But generally, for most of us who are not in pop bands, there are very few times where we have that moment in our careers where everything changes. And so this is such a fantastic opportunity to begin the process now. And you can do this in an incremental way. Now, sometimes I'm a little bit wary of the notion of act as if. That moment of, well, I think my future self woman carries a Gucci bag. So even though I don't have the cash readily available, I'm going to go to Bond Street immediately and splash 10 grand on a bag. No. This is not acting as if in that way. However, what you could do in that moment is go to Selfridges and walk around the Gucci section and really think about what is the kind of bag that you would like to buy, and then take a photo of it, and then think about, okay, what would I do with this bag? Would it go with all of my outfits? Maybe I'd need a brand new jacket to go along with this future self Gucci wearing bag version of myself. However, it may not be materialistic at all. It may be how you enter into a room. It may be how people talk about you when you're not there. It may be the way that you do business and you're just known in your industry. The reputation, you stepping into that next version of yourself. So I want you to go back to your list that we created in part 1. If you haven't listened to episode 2, by the way, do go back because that will make so much more sense. And I want you to choose a few ideas that you can begin to work on right now. Number 2, I want you to think about your daily habits. And I want you to think about where you can begin to add in some time that is dedicated to your future self. Once again, I don't think many of us just wake up and then everything falls into place and it's like, oh my goodness, I'm a brand new person. But there are so many ways that you can begin this process now. Walking for 15 minutes, really visualizing your future, for example. Journaling, getting clear on your vision and where it is you're going and understanding what's blocking and stopping you. Maybe you want to meet a friend or a coach and really begin to get the business idea up and running and some of the ideas that are a bit uncertain in your head onto a piece of paper. I want you to think about those daily commitments that you can give yourself that you know are going to be an investment in who you are becoming. I really noticed that when I was 40, that suddenly the things that I needed to prioritize were no longer an option, actually. They weren't a nice to have, or some people might be like, I can't believe she spends money on those sorts of things. Again, it's personal preference. But I know that I want to be around for my kids for a long, long time. So these things that I do for my health, for my well-being, for me to be able to be the best version of myself, it's those kind of daily costs. Those things that you can track, and then after a couple of weeks you can go, whoa, I've been doing that. In 2023/2024, I ran for 250 days in a row. And by the end of that time, I had a real sense of data. Like, wow, you've really been showing up for this next level of version of yourself for a long time now. Number 3, we might have to look at the way that we are doing life and business in a slightly different way. I don't care if there is a hardworking woman who is on the front page of the paper, who's got 11 children, 4 businesses, all of these things, and has a multi-million pound, billion pound global company. I don't believe that you can do it all. I don't believe that you should do it all either. And yet, all of those tasks, all of those ways of being are probably wrapped up in your identity. And one of the things that I notice again and again is people who I work with are ambitious, they're determined, they get things done. And so quite often they've always been the person who. They've always been the person who buys the Christmas present. They've always been the person who does X, Y, and Z. They've always been the person who is reliable, who picks up the pieces, who makes the Christmas dinner, who buys everybody's presents, whatever it might be. And so therefore, if you are then wanting to do your own things on top and do them to a high level, some of those other things may have to be delegated. And already you might be thinking, no, I can do it all and I don't mind and it's all right and it's quicker if I do it myself. I want you to notice what's going on underneath there. And is it of service? Because I tell you what, and this is what's going to lead into part 4 in a sec, when I've sometimes said, I need help with this, could this now be your job? Most of the time, that person has said, yeah, of course. Sorry, I just thought you always did it. I didn't want to interfere. And they will have their own story as well. So I want you to be really clear in where you're going next and make the moves to support that process. Number 4, so therefore, what needs to change? I love fresh bedding. I love great bedding. And if you ever sleep over at my house, I want you to have the best sleep. And I take great pride every single morning in making my bed. The kids love it when they have that sort of fresh bedding on and everything's cozy. And I do that thing that my granny used to do for them where I'd put a hot water bottle in their bed to warm it through and then take it out when they get in. Obviously, health and safety and all of these sorts of things. However, I love the result, but I hate the process. I don't mind the washing and the ironing and the drying, but I hate stripping the beds. It's such another task for me. And so now I have taught my children to do that. And for a while, they were just doing the bottom sheets and the pillowcases and really fighting me on the duvet thing. And until one day I said, why don't you work together as a team and see if you can figure it out? And guess what? They did. And guess what? One of them was like, it doesn't even have those tricky buttons. It's got a zip. Mine's got a zip. We can do that. You hold one end and I'll hold the other. And now that is not on my list anymore. I mean, obviously, if they're ill or they can't do it for whatever reason, I will do it for them. But generally, that's on them. That's part of their task for the week. And I should make it really clear, like I'm not making them work all hours doing all the things. But that is something that could take them 5 minutes between them, and it saves me time because I'm doing all of the other things as well. And so I want you to take action, whether that is putting in things, putting in systems that allow you to thrive, allow you to really accelerate and elevate and go to that next level. Finally, one of my favorite exercises and one of the simplest too. I want you to put your goals where you can see them. Not just in a crumpled up piece of paper at the back of the drawer. I want you to be checking in with them every single day. Almost like a little wink, like, morning, hiya, what's happening? For example, in our kitchen, I know exactly where the kettle is. It's always going to be in the same place. And that morning, and often I am the first one who wakes up in the morning, and I always have that lovely morning ritual. I go downstairs, I put the kettle on, I open the back door, I stand, we've got this spiral staircase going off our kitchen, and I just stand there and I take the day in, and I listen to the birds, and there's usually a fox and a cat fighting, there's all sorts of shenanigans going on, but I meet the day like that. And often I think about what I'm grateful for, what today is all about. I set an intention for the day, and I'm very deliberate about this process. It's the same with your goals. When are you going to think about them? When are you bearing them in mind? When are you cross-checking with them? When are you just getting really busy and going, oh my goodness, I don't know why I'm so busy because I'm supposed to be doing X, Y, and Z. Now is your time to put your goals where you see them, where you can see them regularly. I hope you've loved this week. I know I've loved sharing this content with you. As always, please share and subscribe. And as I've mentioned, there are always some goodies in the description boxes. There is a free workshop. There's 6 of them actually in the library. So you can pick one or you can pick all 6 and get cracking. Also, if you want to work with me one-on-one or do one of my courses, sometimes people don't know what they want, by the way. So if that's you and you're thinking, yeah, I know I need something and I've got lots of ideas in my head, but I don't know which way to go to begin with, just send me a message. We can set up a call and go from there. Have a fantastic weekend. Please celebrate what you've done this week. Please really champion yourself. Please really notice all the little details. It's so, so important. And please know I completely and utterly believe in you. You can do this. And I can't wait to see you next week. Lots of love. Bye.